Alright, it's been what, 6 months since the Galaxy A55 and the A35 came out, and I'm sure you guys have questions. Have they been heating? Is the performance as good as day one or has it fizzled down? How's the battery been holding up? Is the Galaxy AI coming to these phones? Am I satisfied with the cameras and have they gotten better with updates? And lastly, with an even lower price now, does it make sense to just get them? Let's go. But before I answer all of those questions, let me quickly give you a recap on what's new with these phones. So first of all, they both have a 6.6-inch display now that have a premium vibe with glass backs. They're protected using Gorilla Glass Victus Plus, both front and back, and they have IP67 water and dust resistance. Compared to some other phones in this price segment, I think above average, they are more durable. And that also means that they're more likely to last longer as well. And despite being half the price of flagships like, the S24 series, they look almost flagship-like. Especially the A55, which has glass back, metallic frame, very similar camera housing, and the key island. I mean, it's just become this signature Galaxy A series look. You get 5000 mAh battery capacities on both, supports 25 watts of charging speeds, hybrid SIM tray, so you can expand storage by up to 1 TB using a microSD card. And that's something that's getting really rare these days. I mean, I've talked about all of these things in my initial review, so you can catch that. I'll leave a card here. I'll leave a link in the description so if you're interested. But I want to talk about how these phones have actually held up in the last 6 months. And the first thing I want to tell you is that the prices have actually dropped. So the A55 and the A35, they launched at these prices. However, now you can get the A55 for 33,999 and the A35 for 25,999 rupees if you avail the bank cashback. So this does tilt quite a few things in their favor. But first, I want to address the elephant in the room, the Exynos 1480. And honestly, the everyday things that you do on your phone, that just works. I mean, I've been juggling through email, following up with work conversations on Slack, using WhatsApp to stay in touch with friends and family, the occasional Netflix. I just finished watching this show called Kaleidoscope. Not a very good show, but it looked really good watching it on this phone. But anyway, not once did I feel that the phone is slowing down or anything like that. Very smooth, very enjoyable. Like, consider a wallpaper app. When you open it, see, it doesn't stutter. All the wallpaper previews load up very fast and it's smooth. Or go to your Google feed and scroll down real quick. The feed populates very quickly. And I'll tell you this, that despite very fast internet connections, phones that have slow processors, they tend to take more time to load this kind of info or these wallpaper previews, but not on this. Now, sure, when you load a game, it could be a bit jerky depending on how heavy the game is. But once everything is loaded, the performance is quite good, it's smooth, the response to touch was great. I tried Call of Duty at high graphics and high frame rate and checked the temperature before starting the game, which was about 29-30 degrees, which is room temperature. Now, while I was gaming, not once did I feel a frame drop. In fact, I was getting a consistent 60 FPS and the network also stayed very stable. And after about 45 minutes of gameplay, the temperature had risen to about 34-35 degrees, which is actually very comfortable. I mean, it was very slightly warm, which I'd say was comfortable. I also tried to edit a 4K video using VN on the phone, and even while editing, things worked smoothly. I mean, no hiccups anywhere. Obviously, while the export is not going to be at flagship level speed, it didn't take more than a minute to export a 1-minute 4K reel. And all of this on Exynos 1480, though I do admit that I do have the 12GB RAM variant with me. I've also thoroughly enjoyed the display too. I've used the Galaxy A55 more than the A35 here, and I can very confidently say that both phones are easily one of the best displays you can get in their respective segments. The color accuracy, the sharpness of the display, and oh man, the outdoor visibility on this is so freaking good. And the A55 is HDR ready, so I've been binging HDR titles on this, and with decently loud stereo speakers, it's actually quite satisfying. Now, I do agree that the bezels, even though it's lesser than what we had in the Galaxy A54 and the A34 last year, they're still more than average. But honestly guys, I've been using this phone, I stopped noticing it, and I think I would choose a superior display over an inferior display with less bezels. So when it really comes to experiencing the display, I think it's the quality that really matters, and the bezels kind of become very secondary over time. But now, moving on to the software experience, and I think this is where Samsung's One UI is just so much better than everything else out there. It's just so much cleaner, secure, and packed with features that no other Android skin I think can compete with. And I love the fact that it's got Samsung Wallet app, and once you configure your debit or credit cards on the app, you can just tap and pay on any machine that accepts credit cards and the payment goes through. And the customization options are endless. I mean, I could really customize my lock screen right from the date and the time widget to the way notifications show up, adding widgets that are informative and interactive. And it's the only phone in the price segment that gives you the promise of 4 generations of OS upgrades and 5 years of security updates. And the big news is that both of these phones now have Circle to Search. So recently I got an update that brought the popular Circle to Search feature on these phones. And yeah, you can just long press the home key, circle anything to get to know more about it. But then there is this question, what about other Galaxy AI features, right? Well, there is no official information right now, but with a software update, you never know. You might get some or many of those functions on these phones. I was also able to install GoodLock and access all of its modules to get more customization options for the phone. So seriously, from a software point of view, I don't think there is any other phone in this price segment which can compete with Samsung's One UI. Undoubtedly. But now, let's talk about the cameras. And I've been taking pictures and videos with this phone for quite some time now, and the results are just about fine. There are areas that they're good at, and there are other areas where I think they can improve. Look, specs wise, they both have a 50 megapixel primary camera and a 5 megapixel macro camera, but the ultra wide on the A55 is 12 megapixel while it's 8 megapixel on the A35. Anyway, let's just get into the camera samples. So here are samples taken using the A55 in regular 12 megapixel mode, and I like how overall Samsung has really optimized their algo to make photos more and more natural over time, even in their mid-range smartphones, which usually used to be extra punchy earlier. So if you see, the sky, it's not too blue anymore, the greens are not too green anymore, and the colors don't punch out unnecessarily. It's all really well balanced. Though I think there were some pictures that I felt were a bit brighter than they should have been, with blown highlights. A few times I did feel pictures were a bit soft or they lacked the punch. But generally speaking, I found the outdoor pictures pretty good most of the times. Now indoors, things felt even better. The colors were just right, all the light sources were sharp and not too bloomy, decent dynamic range as well, and shadows are not too dark, highlights were not blown out. It struck a nice balance, and guys, just go ahead and download these photo samples from the link in the description. Hopefully that'll help you get a better perspective. Now in low light, if you've got subtle ambient light, the photos came out very well. Look at the detail on the road and how well the highlights are being managed. Now because in low light situations, highlights, they get very easily overexposed. But the A55 I think did a pretty good job. And sometimes the greens may feel over sharpened, and something that I think Samsung can easily control with an update. Okay, and these pictures were taken in pretty dark conditions, and I have to say they look really good for that. In fact, I was particularly impressed with the exact shade of red that the A55's camera caught in the Tim Hortons logo, and inside the glass doors you can see how nicely lit it is without any kind of overexposure. Coming to portrait mode, and I think this is just about okay. It does a very good job at object detection, but I think the focus fall off could have been a little bit more gradual. Because portrait shots can look a bit artificial if the focus shift is not progressive, but generally speaking, very decent portrait shots. And now, selfies, and I think I really like them. They're mostly, selfies in portrait mode in wide angle, and I love the way it has balanced my skin tone, the way it's captured the lighting very softly on my face. I mean, overall, in certain situations, the pictures have come out really well, and in tough situations, with an update, I think it should get better. And then I also took some samples with the Galaxy A35, and given the price segment again, I think it took really nice selfies, even in dark conditions as you can see here. Very less noise, soft skin tone, and no over sharpening. Indoor pictures too, very well balanced, optimizing colors and highlights in a way that things don't bloom unnecessarily, and they remain sharp. Overall, very decent dynamic range, but again, feel free to download these from the link in the description to get an even better idea. And here are a couple of video samples shot using the A55, all in 4K quality at 30 FPS, which is the max that the A55 can shoot in, and I think it's quite decent, right? The stability while walking is quite good, it's all handheld, I'm not using any gimbal, so definitely the OIS here is playing a good role, and even in very sunny situations, I think it handled the scene very well, nothing was blown out of proportion. I think it's quite nice. And here's a quick sample of a 4K front-facing video that I shot using the A55. Ignore me talking to myself here, but the point is that very few phones offer 4K front-facing videos, and both these phones do. Alright, now let's talk about battery, okay? Now, as I said, they both have 5000 mAh battery capacity, but they're an easy all-day battery. And when I say all day, I mean, even when I hit the bed, I've got battery left to spare. And in fact, if I use it very judiciously, then I even have like runtime the next day morning. And I guess the only gripe I have is that it still supports 25 watts and not like 45 watts or something, which I think Samsung should definitely upgrade. Maybe for the A36 and the A56. Oh, and it does not have wireless charging for those who care about it. But yeah, overall, I was really impressed with just how long these phones really last. Guys, overall, as I said in my initial review, and I stand by that, these phones are trying to outperform in a single category. Like most phones in this price segment, they attempt to do that, either being great at just performance or just cameras or just durability. These phones are all about an all-round experience. Good performance, strong durability, great display, decent cameras, long-term reliability, and absolutely feature-packed software. And then there are some extra things like, tap and pay, or microSD storage expansion, or 4 generations of OS upgrade, or 4K front-facing videos. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you don't see in a lot of phones in this price segment. And I think they're really useful. And then to add to all of this, both phones have undergone a price drop as well, which makes them even more desirable and value for money. All that I would say is that they're very reliable, premium looking, feature-packed phones in this price segment, and you really can't go wrong with them. Alright, that's it guys about the Galaxy A55 and the A35. If you guys still have any questions, please just put them in the comments. I'll definitely reach out, and if you did enjoy watching the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification icon, and mark all. Really helps the channel grow. I'll see you guys in the next one.